the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
What I want to talk about for a moment is debunking some radical pro-abortion claims. I was actually emailed last week and told off by someone that said, nowhere in the United States is abortion legal through all 9 months of a woman's pregnancy. The person said, I'm sure Timmerie and Mary Rose already know this, but just in case they don't, there is no place in the United States where abortion is legal in all 9 months. This person really is insistent, despite the fact that, just to name 3 places that literally wrote this into their state constitution last year, including California, Vermont, and Michigan, that literally the people voted, even though they didn't know what they were voting for, to put a constitutional amendment giving unfettered access through all 9 months of a woman's pregnancy to abortion, to kill a baby, even a baby after the baby is born. That's how radical these pro-abortion laws are. And by the way, your state funding, your tax dollars are going to it. Because in the state of California, for example, helping to pay for someone's abortion is prioritized over actually caring for other living human beings. Instead, it's used to kill innocent babies and damage women's bodies. So this was outrageous that this woman even wrote this to me. I hope that she will listen to this. And I'm sorry if I'm a little shocked by this response, but here's what happens. When someone says something that we disagree with, we tend as human beings to like to say that that's just not true. So if you find yourself immediately reacting to someone with this visceral reaction, accusing them of lying, I encourage you and I encourage myself to slow down and think, maybe ask a qualifying question, such as, why do you think abortion isn't legal through all 9 months of a woman's pregnancy? And here's the kicker. If I were to talk to this woman in person and not just receive an email from her where she's yelling at me, at times in capital letters, I would ask her, what makes you think that abortion is not legal through all 9 months of a woman's pregnancy? And this is what her response would be. Because who would kill a baby right before the baby's about to be born? I agree with you. I'd say, I've had this exact conversation many times before. And she would then say something along the lines of, no one has abortions so close to delivery. Most abortions just take place at the very beginning of pregnancy. So what she's trying to do is, and I'm not saying that this is what this woman said, but I've had this conversation over and over again. What people do is that they think abortion is unconscionable in the last trimester of abortion. Because they think it's unconscionable, they do not believe that it could possibly be legal. But what's always interesting to me is when people say, abortions just take place at the beginning of pregnancy. Do you hear that word? Let's replace some of those words. Killing babies just takes place when the babies are the smallest, most fragile, and most vulnerable, and they're supposed to be in the safest place on earth. That's in mama's womb. That's what that person's saying. But because babies are so small, so fragile, heartbeats aren't even detected till about 16 days, and the latest Oxford study showing this. Baby's heart starts to be around 16 days, but we can't detect it with current medical technology till about 6 weeks, which is why a lot of the heartbeat laws aren't implemented until 6 weeks, and therefore abortions can still occur before then. People write off abortion if it happens early on. Do you know what that's called? Big people picking on little people. And just to be clear, it's not just California, it's not just Michigan, it's not just Vermont that has abortion enshrined in their state constitution through all 9 months of a woman's pregnancy. Late term, last term abortion here in the state of California has been performed for years. For example, UCLA, last I knew, still had their medical students performing experimental practice abortions and their medical training programs for free. Or next to nothing. Maryland and Nebraska are well known for having unfettered access through all 9 months of a woman's pregnancy to abortion. Founded by Leroy and Mary Lou Carhart, they perform abortions after 27 weeks. I was just looking at their website, talking about access to care clinics that perform abortions. I mean, we could talk about how this is in other states, such as Illinois and others, possibly in Ohio, after this vote in a couple weeks. We're going to talk about what you can do even if you don't live in the state of Ohio, to prevent issue 1 from becoming enshrined in the state constitution. Catholics are called to vote no on issue 1 because it would lead to unfettered access to abortion, abortion for minors without parental notification or approval, and 2, cross-sex hormones, puberty blockers, and bodily mutilation surgery under the guise of so-called therapeutic gender-affirming care. It's a lie. All without parental notification or consent. If you or someone you know is saying that there's no such thing as legal abortion all 9 months of a woman's pregnancy, just because you think it's unthinkable doesn't mean that that's true. And so this is actually a great opportunity. I hope the woman who wrote me is listening. And I know I'm a little hot on this topic because it's a little frustrating when we try to say that something barbaric isn't happening because we can't handle thinking about it. And I'm not saying that that's what this woman is saying, but I'm saying that's what I hear a lot of people say. If you are not okay with abortion at 9 months, why are you okay with abortion at 8 months, 7 months, 6 months, 5 months into that pregnancy? Just because the baby is larger and more developed, closer to being outside of the womb versus inside of the womb, what makes it okay to kill that baby? This is what's called a tactic known as trot out the toddler. People will say, everyone will say, most people, that you can't kill a toddler or a newborn. Okay, so trot out the toddler. Take them back a little further. Well, would you kill a baby the day the baby was born? What about if the woman's in labor and she's about to have the baby? Would you kill the baby then? You can go further and further back and break down the arguments as to why people justify killing a baby at that particular point in pregnancy. And just take them a week further back and keep going all the way back to the beginning to establish that it is never right to kill a human person, no matter their degree of dependency, environment, age, any of it. It's never acceptable. Like what you just heard? Share it with your family and friends. And thanks for listening.